right, so you should have completed your research on your topic. So you should already have this filled out about what topic you selected, 5 things a person needs to know, why it's important to bring attention to this, who or what is impacted, an important quote or statistic, and then writing down your sources. So you should already have this complete. We did this on the computer in Canvas, okay? So now it's time to take our information that we have found about our topic, and we are going to start our sketches, okay? So in the back of our sketchbook here, it should be the last page in our sketchbook. This is the page that we're going to draw on today, because it's important as we start to plan our design that we keep in mind that we are going to be making this design and scratching it out onto a CD, right? So we want to make sure that we plan for the opening here, the hole in the center of the CD. Okay, so I'm going to work on a copy of this here that I have outside of my folder just to make this a little bit easier. Now, if you are stuck and you are having trouble getting started, one of the things that you might do is do an image search. Now, one thing I want to warn you about with this, you want to be careful. We can't copy the clip art that we see on our Google search or the photographs we see, but this can help inspire us, okay? So we can pull ideas from this to help us with our design. My topic that I've selected, it is about the importance of clean water. We have a finite amount of fresh water available to us. It's a very, very small percentage of the Earth's water is fresh water that we can drink, and 1 in 10 people do not have access to clean water, at least not very easily. And so to me, this seems like a very important topic. So as I was thinking about this, I thought a little bit about the water cycle, how the water we have sticks with us, how the majority of our body is made up of water. Like, water is essential to living. Thinking about the water that's available on Earth, especially the fresh water. Thinking about pollution, how it affects things in the water. Thinking about how we get our water out of faucets. And so all of these things ran through my mind. Okay, so the next thing I have to think about before I start sketching, I need to consider the principles of design, right? So you need to use one of these principles of design in the design that you create. So are you going to use balance, emphasis, contrast, rhythm and movement, pattern, unity, or proportion? So one of the things that I thought about doing was rhythm and movement, because water has motion, right? So one of the things that I thought about is showing the motion of the water going through the water cycle and how that can affect our water, right? As you start to plan your design, make sure to consider, are there any key symbols that you want to include that will help the viewer understand your topic? So for example, one of the things that I wanted to make sure to include was water droplets. And so I thought of the fact that if I drew some clouds and had rain coming down, you would see the water droplets. And then I had those move into the ocean. So again, another symbol of water would be like a wave. And then for evaporating, I used a dashed arrow to show the movement and the fact that it wasn't a solid, we can't see evaporating water. So the dashed lines were symbolic of the evaporating water, and then I add a sun to help show that the water is changing states as it moves through this water cycle. Make sure to include any details that help to explain your topic. Remember, you will need to scratch out your design. So be sure that you are not making your details too small. You'll also want to watch this if you choose to add any text. Keep in mind there is a hole in the center of the CD. So think about how you can incorporate it into your design so it doesn't distract or so you don't lose part of your design. So for example, I chose to wrap the cloud around the circle versus having the edge of the cloud stop in the middle of the hole in the CD. Something to consider, make your lines different thicknesses. This can help to add interest. It can also help to have different areas and different amounts of CD color show through when you scratch out your design. You can also use hatching and cross-hatching to help show different values or textures in your design. So remember, as you are drawing, don't use shading, because you can't recreate that shading the same way on your CD. You could only use hatching or cross-hatching to create those shaded values. Think about how you are filling the space. Is it balanced? Did you fill most of the space? Be sure to label your designs. So on the outside of your design, there's a spot where it says sketch number 1, principle of design used. That is where you're going to want to write down what your principle of design that you chose to feature. So for example, my first one used movement. My second one used contrast or balance or even proportion. So you'd write that there. And then you also need to write down what is your issue or topic that you are representing. This will help me and others. Remember, we will do a critique over our designs. This will help us understand what your goal is through your design, to help us see if you are truly communicating what you want to communicate with your design. Okay, so again, don't forget, we will have a critique, so other students will be seeing your designs and helping give you suggestions so that your designs can be strong and communicate what you want it to communicate. Another thing to consider, once you are done with your first sketch, think about, does this design show what I want it to? So is it showing my topic the way that I want it to? Remember, there are different approaches to how you choose to represent the topics. Like for me, I chose in the first one to show the amazing fact that we can't create water, but it changes states and it's a vital resource for so many living creatures. So that was kind of the focus there, that we need to keep our water clean because the water we have stays with us no matter its format. But for the second one, I chose a different approach. I chose to focus on water pollution with my design. The fact that pipes can be used to move clean water into our homes, but at the same time, we can also pipe waste into our water supplies, thus polluting it and impacting the creatures that call it home. So you'll notice I added a fish with an X for an eye, showing that symbolically that's a symbol that the fish is no longer living. You'll notice there are bones of a fish because the polluted water is killing off the water creatures. Okay, so again, one of them is more about the awesome power of water, the other is more of the negative impact of not taking care of water. Something else to keep in mind, consider if you want to add any text to your designs. So try to keep the number of words to a minimum. Make sure to make them more of a block letter style, or at least large, so it's easier for you to scratch out the letters in a way that someone can read your text. You can see here I have two very different ideas. So one of the things that you might consider if you have some extra time is, what are you going to scratch out and what are you going to leave the black of the CD? And so one of the ways you can do this, I personally find it easier to color in the areas that I plan to scratch out, which I know is opposite. So like when we go in and we start to scratch areas, those would actually be our lighter areas, but it's hard to color in everything around an area, and the coloring process is similar to the scratching process. So again, I tend to color in the areas that I plan to have the lightest. So as you are coloring, ask yourself, is this an area that I would be able to scratch out when I go to scratch this out on the CD, or would this be better left black? So for example, trying to scratch out all the water around the pipe might be a little bit difficult, but scratching the water that's coming out of the pipe, I could show that. Or scratching out the hand design and then just scratching out the line where the glass is might work a little bit better. You can also think about, what do I want to draw the eye to? So maybe I want the scratched out area to be the water droplets because I want the focus to be on water. So those are some of the things to consider as you start to color it.